Good morning. I'm Denise O'Malley, the founder of You Define Wellness, and I want to welcome you to another series in the Defining Wellness Authors Series. I am introducing you to the You Define Wellness network providers who are authors of health and wellness books because it's all about giving you the tools to set out on your own path to wellness. And today I have joining me Melanie Smithson. And Melanie, thank you for joining me.
I'm always thrilled to talk about stress.
And that's a really good topic. And oh my gosh, hold on. I jumped ahead. I apologize for that. This is Melanie's book, Stress Free in 30 Seconds. And I love this, a slightly irreverent approach to navigating life's challenges. So tell us about it.
Yeah, so, as the title speaks to, two things. One, I have found that there's a lot of ways to let go in the moment, which I think is really key to dealing with stress, because the longer we hang around with whatever it is that seems to be the upset, the harder it is to let go. And two, recognizing in the irreverence that everything that we think is so important, maybe not so much. So learning how to even be irreverent with ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So let's dive into that a little bit more. What do you mean about being irreverent with ourselves?
Well, we wake up every day and, the way I kind of see it, we wake up in the morning and the mind starts to look for trouble. And
I hadn't thought of it that way.
It's kind of the way the mind is wired.
Yeah.
I think most people will admit that a lot of, if not all, stress is in perception and how we, view the world, what we think about the world. Mm-hmm. So the mind is really not our friend when it comes to living a peaceful life. The mind's job is to solve problems. And if the mind doesn't have a problem, it doesn't have a job. So therefore, the mind creates problems. So wakes us up in the morning and says, what are you going to do about this? And what are you going to do about that? And how's this? And how are you going to do that? And how are you going to get this done? Blah, blah, blah. And you're not doing this right. And not only that, so there's the mind aspect, but feelings also. There's like, oh my God, I'm so upset and this is going on. And when we can start to come to a place of, it's just a thought, it's just a feeling, it doesn't mean a lot. Mm-hmm. That's where we have more of an ability to let go and shift through the craziness. So irreverence looks like, hey, you think you're so damn smart? To myself. I wouldn't necessarily say that to anybody else, but the ability to say that to myself, and you think this is important, I get that you think this is important, but guess what? You're not that special. It's not that important.
Okay, so take us on a journey through the book that you wrote.
Yeah, so the book is actually arranged through what I found to be the primary stressor areas. So one, thinking. Mm-hmm. Two, feeling, as we already, I just mentioned. Three are habitual patterns. So those are going to include things like, procrastination and avoidance and overindulging. And the big one that I spend a lot of time on is actually the habit of worrying. Mm. Yeah. I put worrying into the habits rather than feelings, because most of the time worrying is something we actively engage in, mm-hmm. rather than a feeling which arises in the body. And then finally, relationship with others, which can really be summed up as dealing or trying to deal with other people's thinking, habits, and feelings. So often we get stressed in our relationships because we step into the realm of what's not our business. Mm-hmm. So learning what is our business in relationships, learning what's not our business, key to moving through stress. And then in the second part of the book, I start talking about what are the habits, what are the behaviors that we can engage in that will support less crazy, mm-hmm. right? So that includes play, movement, and throughout the book, Sedona method releasing, which you and I have talked a little bit about before.
Right.
And then finally, at the end of the book, I've got, 20 treatment plans for dealing with very specific activities. So one of them might be feeling overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
I've got like 9 or 10 steps for dealing with the feeling of overwhelm in the moment. So
Wonderful. So you're starting off by giving an awareness. This
yes,
is what's causing your stress. And
yes,
you're ending with the tips and tricks and fulfilling the promise of being stress-free in 30 seconds.
yes. And that said, kind of, I'm beginning and ending, but it's all mushed together.
Right. Okay. Right. So let's talk about that promise of stress-free in 30 seconds. Give us one idea of,
Yeah.
of something you can do to become stress-free in 30 seconds.
Yeah. So for me, one of the simplest ways is to start bouncing. And this is where we start bringing in both body and play. But what happens is when you bounce the body,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, it starts to wake up the synovial fluid, so you get more movement fluidity in the body. But it's also really hard to hold on to a thought when you're bouncing. So one of my suggestions I have throughout the book, 30-second play breaks, one of the suggestions is if you have a thought that is persistent, that
Mm-hmm.
you might imagine bouncing it in your head. So if you're sitting in a room with people and you're going crazy, nobody has to know that you're bouncing. So in your mind's eye, you can imagine bouncing that thought or rolling it. Either way,
Uh-huh.
it's going to confuse the mind and the thought is going to dissolve. So in that mere process of bouncing, you're supporting the body to let go, you're supporting the mind to let go, and things can shift that quickly.
Well, and it's an unnatural movement unless you're 3 years old, right? We don't tend to go around bouncing.
Well, the truth is it's a very natural movement because a 3-year-old does it all the time. But yes, you're right. We
Right.
have forgotten our natural movements.
Right. Yeah. That's a childish thing. But I love that idea of bouncing the idea around in your head or the thought that's going on. I sit in so many meetings and there so many of them are so corporate, which is stuffy, and you just want to scream half the time, and that, doesn't necessarily go over really well when you do that in a corporate meeting. But to sit there and bounce this idea, it would actually make me start smiling.
And again, and this is actually where your mind can really help you, because you're sitting in a corporate meeting and you want to kill the people in the room, right?
Right.
In your mind's eye, imagining just how you would do that,
Mm-hmm.
and then letting it go,
Mm-hmm.
rather than don't think that, don't think that. So one of the things I didn't mention that is a huge stressor is resistance.
Okay.
When we resist the wanting to kill the people in the room, it just gets stronger.
Yeah, and that's not a good topic in light of everything going on. But yes, I get what you're saying. Right.
But even before everything was going on, we were all
Yeah.
sitting in meetings where we wanted to kill everybody in the room.
Yeah, you want to go off on someone. You just want to scream at them. You want to. You just want to explode, and you can't. And you're right. You bring that up, and then you're driving home as an angry driver, and you're frustrated, and you take it out on your kids or your husband or your spouse.
Right. And so much thinking, Denise, and especially with the new age stuff, is I shouldn't have a mean thought. As if that was up to us.
Yeah.
So most people don't understand that we actually don't choose our thoughts. We don't choose our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Where there, again, a lot of mischief. You should just think positive thoughts. You should just have positive feelings. That's not the way we're wired.
Right.
Negative feelings arise, negative thoughts arise. And the more we resist them and try and push them away, the stronger they get and the more they run our lives. So learning how to be with every emotion, every thought, and letting it move through awareness is what our work is.
Yeah, I love that we don't choose our thoughts, we choose how we handle our thoughts and what we
Right.
do with our thoughts.
Exactly.
Wow, that's really powerful. I like that.
And and it's one of the ways that you can play with that is, and comes from Sedona method, is can you tell me what your next thought's going to be?
No.
No, which is what tells us that we're not the ones doing the thinking.
Right. Yeah, we're not choosing it.
Right.
That's amazing. So you were telling me earlier before the call that you wrote this book 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So what prompted you to do it?
Yeah. Well, I'd actually been talking about writing a book for a solid 10 years before that. You know, I'm a psychotherapist, I'm working with clients, and there are so many things that I see in my clients that are are unique but not. You know, it's like everybody deals with some things very much the same, you know, and there are so many things that people don't know
Mm-hmm.
in terms of things like this, that you're not your thoughts, that you're not your beliefs, that you're not your feelings. I've had so many people come in over the years to say to me, this is just who I am. And I say, no, it's not. Who you are is much more of that natural loving essence. It's
Mm-hmm.
covered up by a ton of thoughts, feelings, habitual behaviors that keep you crazy and keep you thinking that's who you are.
Yeah.
So I just felt like there were too many things that people didn't know that I wanted to share. And so 10 years after I first started having the thought of the book, I finally got the book written. So
Well, I think it's fantastic that you wrote a book on stress because let's face it, that is something that we all have in common, right?
right.
And I think there are so many people who are so overwhelmed by stress that giving them those tools, the tricks, the insights, help them adapt so much better. Now, do you use this book in any group settings or?
I use this book and the material in this book every single day. I do it with my clients, with my groups. So I have my ongoing Sedona Method groups and Letting Go into A Course in Miracles.
Mhm.
And even, you know, those groups are primarily Sedona Method, but my background, the foundation for all of my work is body and play.
Mhm.
So the book is really a reflection of who I am and how I teach everything.
Right.
And one of the things, you know, you were just talking about stress and how we all have that in common. One of the really basic, simple tips I can give to everybody right now
Mhm.
is remove the word stress from your vocabulary. Because stress, the word itself, is used as a catch-all for everything.
Mhm.
It's not definitive. So when we have a feeling or a thought and we can actually validate it, it will shift and move through. When we say I'm stressed, all it does is it makes us more stressed. If instead I said, wow, I have a lot to do, I'm
Mhm.
feeling like I won't be able to get through it all, that is going to help me move through that experience much more so than saying I'm stressed.
Mhm. So I renamed stress, and this week I've been using the word squidgy.
Switching. And what happens for you when you use that word?
I start laughing.
Perfect. Perfect. So any word that creates, you know, more laughter, more movement, but
Mhm.
stress actually does this in the body, creates a contraction, which is the opposite of what we want. So the more we can move into an open or a yielding position and let life do what it does,
Mhm.
the easier it is for every experience to come and go, come and go, come and go. And this is more of our true nature.
Mm.
But we think we have to be this.
Yeah.
So even that, instead of, you know, sitting at your desk like this, sit at your desk like this. You're going to start to feel better.
It reduces the stress.
Right.
It's definitely a good thing. So you mentioned something I need to clarify for those who are watching this and don't understand the words you used. Sedona method. Can you
Right.
describe what that is?
Yeah. So the Sedona method is a technique for letting go.
Okay.
And there, within the Sedona method, there are multiple ways that we move through thoughts and feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I consider, you know, the Sedona method, playing, moving, all ways of letting go.
Mm-hmm.
What I like about the Sedona method is it tends to go a little bit more with if you have a thought that's really stuck. So
Mm-hmm.
you might have a thought. One of the ways we let go with the Sedona method is something called holistic releasing, where we go back and forth and back and forth. So if you might think, you know, like, I'm not smart enough, random thought. If you just went back and forth, I'm not smart enough, I am smart enough. I'm not smart enough, I am smart enough. And you keep going with this back and forth, 5, 6, 8 times, it starts to neutralize.
Okay.
And it's based on the premise that when it comes to thinking, we want to hold on to one side and push away the other.
Mm-hmm.
That goes back to, oh no, I'm not angry.
Hmm.
So the more we can embrace everything, the more everything starts to dissolve.
Awesome. So I want to make sure that we include everything that you wanted to discuss on this call. So I'm sure you may have had some something going through your head. What do you want to add to this?
Good. So it was interesting because in prepping for this, I did write the book 5 years ago. I picked it up and I thought, anything I need to remind myself of. In the very intro of the book, I speak about the state of yielding, which is from body mind centering. And the definition of yielding is that it's a state of being versus doing. And in that state of being, that forms the basis for the ability to act effectively in the world. So again, it's like we live in a world where the push is really, really strong. And the push is the opposite of the yield or the pull even. But as we try and get everything done in this really strong efforting way that comes from actually the muscles, and I'm going to make this happen. I have to make this happen. And the more we can find in the body a yield, which is what letting go does for us, this all interacts with each other, supports itself, the more we can find, like, oh, I'm just going to be with what is, the more we are actually led to appropriate action. When we're in that place of pushing, we actually cut ourselves off from our brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to say that. What else did I want to say? So the other thing that is actually not in the book that will be in the next version or the next book that I have since writing the book really identified as a huge stressor is the habit of rushing.
The habit of what?
Rushing.
Brushing. Okay. I thought you said brushing for a minute, and we're like, okay, what does teeth cleaning have to do with this? But okay.
Rush.
Rush.
I'm in a hurry.
Yeah.
And this one, I actually decided I'm doing a group this year called 9 Months to Success. And I asked everybody in the group to come up, besides with what they want, one habit they'd like to be free of. And I decided to play along. And I decided I wanted to break the habit of rushing. Mm-hmm. And Denise, I will tell you, it might be one of the hardest habits to break I've ever worked on. Because I've played with it, even like just trying to walk from the kitchen to the bedroom slowly. And it's like everything in me is screaming, go faster, go faster.
Right.
Of course, because we live in a society that supports fast, not slow, and getting things done.
Right.
So we are all, and, I've got friends with little babies. And, mom was telling me about how even, the baby's 2.5 now, so she wants to strap herself into the car. And, mom's good with it until it's taking 5 minutes. Like, hurry up.
I remember those days.
So we have been trained since we were very little to go faster than what might be our natural body's rhythm. So reestablishing that, as I said, is for me no easy task, but I think one worth paying attention to.
So what are you finding happens when you purposefully slow down?
So when I can purposefully and successfully slow down, because sometimes I can purposely do it but not successfully do it. Right. When I'm successful, I feel more space in my body. Mm-hmm. I feel like my brain actually starts to work better. More ideas come in. Mm-hmm. More expansion happens, wonder, curiosity, all the things that support an easier way of being in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and by slowing down and being purposeful and not rushing around and successful at it, it feels like it's a form of mindfulness as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would say that everything I teach is mindfulness. Mm-hmm. But what I find is a lot of people understand the concepts of mindfulness, but don't know how to implement them.
Yeah.
So I give a lot of tips and tools for how do I make this happen.
Yeah, it's also an overused word right now. It's the new buzzword, and a lot of people are using it incorrectly, I think.
Right.
But hey, keep using it because it's making people think about things.
Well, and my teacher, Christine Caldwell of Naropa, wrote a book recently called Bodyfulness.
Ooh, I like that.
Right? And so what that means is like, rather, it's like mind body is one entity, but mindfulness tends to keep us in the head. Bodyfulness is all. It's truly holistic.
I'm going to have to get that book as well and learn about it because that fascinates me as a 9-time concussion victim, survivor, whatever you want to call it. It's crazy. I've had to implement what you're describing as bodyfulness in my life, even with slowing down and even taking the stairs one at a time, because if I'm rushing, I might slide down it and I might get concussion number 10. And so I've had to slow down in everything I'm doing and thinking what I'm doing. So, and it does make a difference. It makes a huge difference.
And in that, a lot of people say where the mind goes, the body will follow. But it is also true that where the body goes, the mind will follow.
Yeah.
So sometimes when it's really hard, somebody is working on something that they can't seem to let go of, I will just suggest to them that they go like this with the body, open.
Yeah.
Open, because opening inside opens the brain as well, opens the mind.
Yeah.
So if the mind doesn't want to let go, have the body let go.
So we're going to share your book again, and Stress-Free in 30 Seconds. And where can people find this?
Yeah, the easiest place to get it right now is actually at my website, melaniesmithson.com. Stress-Free in 30 Seconds will also get you there. I've got copies in stock here. I will sign them and send them.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great thing, is to have that. And the other thing is if you are watching this on YouTube, and I'm assuming that you are, get her book. But also, if you feel that this is someone that you want to be working with, give her a call. She's got some great tips that she's shared with us on this video. So Melanie, I appreciate all of that. How do you work with people? Can you work with anyone, anywhere in the world?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, because obviously we've got Zoom and Skype and all kinds of stuff, and people come in and see me here at my clinic, and I do groups, I do individual sessions. Yep.
Oh yeah, this is someone you want to work with, folks. You really want to pick up the phone and give her a call. So.
Especially those that are on more of a spiritual path, that are wanting to live a more expanded life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and isn't that most of us, I think, in one way or another? Absolutely. So I want to talk to those of you who are watching this video, and thank you for watching it. And if you go to youtube.com, put You Define Wellness, that's YOU, Define Wellness, in the search bar, you will find our YouTube channel. We have more than 100 videos on there from the health and wellness providers in our network. These are vetted professionals who are sharing their expertise with you, giving you an opportunity to get to know them. They're short videos, as this one was, and it's a great way to try before you buy. Find the people that you want to work with. Melanie's on there a couple of times, and this one will be uploaded there as soon as today is over. So I'm looking forward to that. That being said, Melanie, thank you so much for doing this. I am going to go, you're going to see my order coming through because I want to get this book. And the other thing is I think this would be a great book to give to people for Christmas and holidays and birthdays and weddings.
Very few of us know anyone that doesn't need the book.
Yes, have a new baby. You need this book. Trust me, you're going to need it. So it is. I'm glad to hear about it. Thank you for sharing it with me today. And again, for everyone watching, we appreciate you, and we hope to see you on another upcoming video.
Great. Thanks, Denise.